All right. Hi, my name is Easton. I am an associate with CoPerg, and today we're here with Jimena Baldino, Aspen's waste diversion and recycling specialist, and we're just going to learn some more about Aspen's Organic Waste Ordinance, which has been a very successful policy. And to start us off, I'm just going to ask Jimena to tell us a little bit about just overall, what is the Aspen Organic Waste Diversion Ordinance? What are the requirements? Who are the stakeholders? All that good stuff.
Thanks, Easton, for having me. So, what the Organic Waste Diversion Ordinance is, this is a policy that's phased out in three different phases. Uh, our goal is to reduce how much organic waste is going into the landfill. Why we started this was because in 2022, when we were doing a landfill characterization, we found out that over 42% of our waste was compostable. So our main goal is to divert that 42% of general waste that's compostable from going in the landfill. So we had three different phases. The first phase was restaurants, where we implemented in 2023, October 2023. We started requiring restaurants to divert their food waste from the trash. We didn't specify it had to be composted on the traditional, way, having a waste hauler, but because of we already have a system in place, that's what most restaurants decided to go with. We also offer donation, food donation, or work with a local farm, to donate your food scraps. But those take more logistics on their end. So having a compost hauler that just comes by and picks it up, it's the easiest way to do it. So in 2023, we implemented this policy, and over 100 restaurants, I think at the time it was 105, started composting. And it's been super successful. We have, all the restaurants are doing the best they can. Some of them are in better shape than others. Something that's very like it's a big struggle for restaurants is seasonal employees. We have a lot of restaurants that have summer and winter J1s, or employees that maybe are not, or they don't know about the rules. They don't know about the local requirements. So it takes a little bit of time for them to get used to it. But once everyone's trained, it is very easy for them to just, keep going with the program. The second phase of this ordinance is going into effect in like a month and a half from now. So January 15th of 2026, where all multifamily buildings and commercial spaces are going to have to do the same, divert their food waste from the trash. I can expect most places to also go with a waste hauler that's going to provide them with the composting services. I don't see many people going with the donation option, neither with the local farm option. So that is the second phase. And what we are doing for that is doing a lot of outreach with multifamily buildings, HOAs, property managers, and businesses to make sure they are up to speed, because we are talking about, I think, over 4,000 units and over 200 businesses. So that's a lot of people that we are going to be reaching to with this new phase. And we want to make sure everyone understands why we are doing this in the first place, and also what are the resources that they can get from us. And then the third phase of this ordinance is January 15th, 2028, where all people living in the city limits, working in the city limits, are going to have to divert their food waste from the trash. And that's like, it's big. That's a big last phase. It's going to be big. It's going to be interesting. We are going phase by phase because it's a new program that to my knowledge, no one in the state has it this way. And we learned from Denver, from their experience when they launched composting for everyone. There was some contamination going to the landfill. So that's why we decided to do it in three phases. And we are learning right from each phase. So for the third phase, we don't have a plan yet. But hopefully by the time, by 2027, if we talk again then, that's when we're going to have like a better structure of how that's going to be implemented.
Cool. Yeah, great overview. And I think so you spoke to some of the challenges already and implementing something that might be a new way of thinking for a lot of people might be logistically difficult. Yeah, I'd just be interested in knowing more about kind of what happened when you first introduced phase one. What were some of the approaches you used to get people on board who might not have been on board?
Yeah. So when it comes to restaurants, I think some of the biggest challenges we had were J1s, not J1s, seasonal employees in general, wildlife. We have a lot of bears in summertime, so wildlife is a huge piece of this puzzle that we have to work with. Um, Space in the alleys and inside the restaurants, people were like, well, we have a small restaurant, how we are going to do this? We don't see where we can add an extra bin. And then for the outdoor space, there's some alleys if you walk downtown Aspen that are full of things. So that was another challenge that they raised. And then the cost wasn't a big concern. Composting is way more affordable than trash disposal. Um, so it wasn't huge. Like a few of the local businesses at first were like, well, we're gonna have to add this extra, monthly fee to our business. But most of them were fine with it. And I think because it was such a small fee, it didn't become a big issue for them to, pay on the regular basis. And then what else? I think for when it comes to multifamily buildings, they are worried about short-term rentals and maybe tourists that come stay for a short period of time and maybe don't fully understand or don't care or don't want to do it. So some people were like, well, what happens if they don't want to do it? What happens if you go check the bin and it's empty? So that's the other thing where, we are working closely with the property managers to make sure that what happens inside the unit is not under your control, neither our control. But those I think were the biggest concerns, like education, wildlife, space, cost. Yeah, and workforce. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, you mentioned that's something interesting about Aspen is, yeah, a lot of tourism, a lot of people who do temporary stays. So I guess when phase three of this ordinance is implemented, what would you say a visitor to Aspen could expect,
Hmm.
composting wise?
Yeah. So I think in 2028 people could expect having a small bag in hotel rooms, hopefully. In this second phase, multifamily buildings include hotels, but we are not requiring them to have a compost bin in each room, just because it's a huge load right now for them. So we are asking just for, the office spaces or the EDRs or the share like breakfast rooms, those type of spaces, but hopefully they will expect to see a small compost bin or a bag in each hotel room, or in the short-term rental where they are staying, with a sign and with a message of encouragement to do it. At the end of the day, if someone comes over and they don't want to do it, there's nothing we can do to change that behavior right there, but hopefully by coming to a place where you appreciate nature so much and you come for the outdoor space, we hope to make that connection where, yeah, to have these outdoor spaces we need to protect the environment, and one way is by composting. So we really hope that people understand why we do this and they are able to do it, for whatever long they stay, even if it's 3 days or if it's a week or if it's a month.
Yeah, that all makes sense. I would hope people would want to protect Aspen because it's beautiful. I'd say so phase one is the only phase of this ordinance that has been fully implemented. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So I'd just be curious, what's your take on phase one? Now that you're a few years into the process, would you say overall that it's working? Are there any areas that are still left to be addressed?
I think it's working. I think like a place where we struggle a little bit is doing the enforcement. And by enforcement, I don't mean going in the dumpsters and checking. The waste haulers, we have a great relationship with them, and they tell us, hey, this container has been empty. Hey, this container is contaminated. So on that end, we do a really good job. But when it comes to checking in with the restaurants, more on like the human side, like, hey, how are you doing? Do you need help? Do you need resources? We just don't have enough employees right now to be doing that as proactively as I would like to. Um, I send out emails, and I chat with some of them, but emails is not the same as in person. All in person is always better. So I think that's a big thing for me that I hope um once we have a full team, I hope that we are able to get back on that and be doing more proactive enforcement and outreach with restaurants. But I think it's working. I think it was a challenge. I think it took a lot of time from our side, from the city side, and also from the restaurant side, getting the chefs on board and then the chefs translating that to their employees. That takes time. And I think we were able to build a deep relationship with them where they know that they can ask for help and support, and we are not there to just give them a fine.
Mhm.
Because that's not the goal. Like, we don't need the money. We want them to be educated and know how to do it and do it right. So I think we were able to build that up where, well, they understand where we are coming from. Some of them may not agree with it. When it comes to your personal, decisions and ideas, like, that's very personal, and there's not much we can do to change that. But I think everyone's able to put that on the side and comply with this and do their best they can. Um, I think a challenge is the busy season when they are running and when they have, tables full of people all over, like 3 times a night. So I think that's something that I I acknowledge that they could do better. Probably not all the food waste during the service time is going in the right bin. Um, but it is really hard to be in that spot at that time, when it's 8 p.m. and you have to be running everywhere. So we also like learned how to be flexible and understandable of those situations. Where, sometimes we go in a restaurant and maybe they are not doing the best, but they are honest about it. And they are like, yeah, we have a new employee, or yeah, we know it's not the best. What can we do to improve? So those are, some of the takeaways. I think building a relationship is a top one priority. Where if you don't have a relationship like that and you just implement a policy that's affecting them, but you don't have a connection, then it's not going to be very successful. At least not in a place like Aspen where we have so many seasonal employees and so much like employee turnover. Like, sometimes you go to a restaurant and everyone is new, including the manager. So um I think that's like a big takeaway from me. And I think we are also learning how to build that relationship for the next phase of this program. Because we want to make sure that we are there to support property managers and HOAs and businesses. And I think when it comes to, the numbers, we saw a reduction on how much waste was going in the landfill. We get the biannual report from waste haulers where, they tell us how much trash, recycling, and composting they picked up and how much went to the landfill. And we saw over 2,000 tons less of waste going in the landfill. And then we saw an increase of I think, over 1,000 tons of food waste being composted. So that also tells us something. It doesn't mean that all those 2,000 tons went straight from the trash to the compost piles, because hopefully we are also changing the behavior. And their, how people are buying, how much products they are buying, how much produce they are buying, but um, it, it's not one to one, but it also tells us, okay, there's some waste being diverted from the trash, and that's a, big goal of us. Yeah.
Yeah, so going back to your statement about building relationships, would that be your biggest recommendation to other Colorado cities or towns who are trying to do something similar to the ordinance?
Yeah, I think if you want to implement a policy where you are asking others to change behaviors, you need to build that relationship because we are not perfect, none of us. And if people feel judged and they feel like they are not supported and they feel like you are just throwing something to them, they are not going to be receptive and they are not going to be open to change. Their approach is going to be like, oh my God, you want me to do this. Another thing, oh, the city is wanting me to do this now. And we heard that, some people feel that way. So I think building the relationship where we show them, hey, yes, I'm asking you to do this, but here's all the other things that, the benefits and the um, items and the things that we can provide you, all the resources we provide you, and the support that we are providing you. And this is not something I tell people, when I go in a restaurant. I'm like, I'm not a police officer. I'm not here to, find you or do anything. I'm here to help you out and make sure that you can do better. So relationships are so important. And I think what comes with relationships is the bilingual education that we were able to provide. I don't know if all communities in Colorado have these, but most of our kitchen employees are Spanish speakers. Some of them have good levels, of English, some others don't. So being able to connect one-on-one with those people, and those people are mostly the ones taking the trash out, right? They are on the dish pits. They are like the cookers, the ones chopping veggies and fruits. So being able to connect with them one on one and speak their language, it's also key. Like that was like extremely helpful because they were able to understand everything and they were able to ask questions. Where if it was just in English or if it was just a chef speaking to them, they would be like, okay, and they would just like keep going with their day. Where when they were able to talk to me in person in Spanish, they were able to just get all their questions answered and fully understand where we were coming from. So those are huge, those two things, bilingual and connection. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. And then we want to ask, looking forward, you've mentioned phase two and phase three of this ordinance. Are there anything, are there any other things that are on the horizon for Aspen in terms of sustainability, waste diversion?
Yeah. So um there are things. So I don't know if you heard, but we implemented the construction and demolition debris ordinance earlier this year, where we require all constructions over 2,000 square feet to divert at least 50% of their waste. This is a policy that was implemented by Pickens County a few years ago, and the city copy and made it better to meet our needs. And we passed it earlier this year and it went into effect this year. We don't really have that many construction sites right now that have to comply because all the constructions that were approved before passing this ordinance did not have to comply with this change. And usually it takes at least 1 or 2 years to get your plans approved and then start with the construction or demolition. So that is big. And we have my coworker Elizabeth. She's a construction and demolition debris coordinator, and she's working on kind of same things: bilingual education, building those connections with the community, understanding the Aspen needs because they are not the same as Denver needs or any other ski town, right? So that's a big thing that we are working on right now, and it's very interesting. There are other things that I'm always exploring, like with EPR and recycling. I'm very excited to see what's coming. We have a recycle center in town, and I'm gonna be applying for the EPR reimbursement, soon. Right now, Aspen does not require recycling, so recycling is optional. So that is something that it's always, in the books, like, should we do something about this, or are we fine with the way it is? Something that we want to improve for sure is the wildlife waste side, because right now those recycling bins are plastic toters that are not latchable, so bears love getting into them. And this year over 50% of our bear intrusions were in recycling bins, so that's telling us that we need to do something, even if it's not mandating recycling, is changing what type of receptacles we are using, or how they, we can latch them, or like we need to do, something to change that. Because if we have bears coming into the recycling bin, that means that they can interact with humans, and that means that humans can get hurt, and also means that bears can get hurt. So we want to make sure that we are protecting both sides, the bears and the humans. And then also, I think we are always looking into what other communities are doing. I know that there's other ski towns that ban some single-use plastics. I know that other communities are requiring compostable materials for takeout. I know that there's communities doing pay as you throw, or the single waste programs. So there's a lot of things out there that we are always keeping an eye to see how it's looking, because we want to make sure that we provide the best service to the community as we can. So whatever, if that means changing some of the ways we are doing things now, we are happy to explore those.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's great stuff going on, all around Colorado, and hopefully with producer responsibility, as you mentioned, I think we're going to see a huge surge in just recycling in general. Um, yeah, I think I'd like to just zoom out before we end the interview and just put a finer point on some of the details of Aspen's, Organic Waste Diversion Ordinance, just so people can kind of know the requirements that you set initially. So I'd just be interested in, kind of what are the requirements for diversion? Like how much are you looking for people to divert? What is classified as that organic waste that will go in compost bins? And then oh, you mentioned who the stakeholders are already, but a refresher on that would be awesome. So just some basic components.
Yeah, so when it comes to the requirements, based on the ordinance, we require, the people involved in each phase to divert 100% of their organic waste. So that's everything that's compostable. And I know that, like I said before, some restaurants and some businesses, some multifamily buildings are doing better than others. Our goal is to educate the community. So when I'm doing enforcement, if I see a banana peel in the trash, I'm not gonna go and give you a ticket. I'm gonna go in and ask you, hey, I saw that there's some food waste in your trash. How is it going? Do you need some education? Do you need some materials, like some signs, or maybe you need compostable bags. Maybe you run out. So I always give them that option to maybe try to do better. We don't want to get to like taking them to court or anything like that. That is not where we want to get to. So um, that's a base requirement, and then I think I forgot the other question that you asked me.
Oh yeah, just what's included as waste.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when it comes to organic waste, we include all food scraps, including bones, including meat, eggshells, cheese, dairy products, veggie fruits, everything. We include the small yard waste, like flowers or leaves or grass. When it comes to branches, we have a special drop-off areas for those that are also being composted, but they are going in a separate pile. And then compostable materials. So compostable cups, compostable plates, paper towels, napkins, tissues, all those are also accepted at the local facility. So I know we are very lucky to be able to have that because places like A1 in Denver had to stop accepting compostable materials, but we still are able to accept them, and they can mix with all the organic waste, so it works great. So those are the basic um, materials that are compostable and should be going in the compost. Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. Well, I think that does it for this overall interview. And just thank you, Jimena, for giving us such a in-depth overview of what the Organic Waste Diversion Ordinance is. And, I hope that anyone watching this who's interested in implementing a similar policy or supporting a similar policy will have some ideas. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Easton. And they are always welcome to reach out if they have any specific questions. They can email me at jimena.baldino@aspen.gov or wait at aspen.gov.
All right.